it's a pedal pub. Booze. Okay. And it sounded so.
Really should be. So she can get up her best act.
Well, let's see.
Audience, and it's a very specific whistle. It's really punk rock, and I really trust you guys with the experience you're about to have. So thank you so much.
And then I will repeat them just to make sure we hear them on the stage. You spoke in the intro about how, although this is not explicitly autobiographical, it's based on something, an experience that Mary went through herself. Was there any pressure stepping into this role knowing that you're kind of in the same space that she was and you're interpreting it?
I'm sure subconsciously there is. She was so protective of the performance, Mary, and protective of me when we were filming. You know, it was shot in 26 days or something. It wasn't a big budget. It was ambitious with its sequences, and she was my touchstone, really, and we had such a shorthand. By the time we got to set, beforehand we had a great rehearsal period of over a month, just sitting at a table, her and I, combing through the script and telling stories and asking questions. We did a bunch of research. We spoke to a lot of mothers who have children with special needs. I spent time with a therapist, you know, like all these kind of wonderful opportunities for research that we did together. But of course there is that subconscious pressure in the back of your head, but I was also just so nervous I didn't want to fuck it up, you know.
You did it.
Doing the shoot, I was just operating at 1,000%. But I think afterward, I felt the crash and felt, a sense of loss or grief in a way for the experience and for the gift of this character and working with Mary. But at the time, my adrenaline, it was almost like doing a play. I was just going so fast, and there was so much to do every day. And such rich scenes. You know, there's a lot of comedy in the movie as well. There is humor in there. And of course, some days were harder than others, but I got to yell at Conan O'Brien one of the days.
This film is very, how was that experience to act with the camera that close, and how did Mary explain that vision to you?
On the first day, the first scene I shot is actually the first scene in the film where they're talking to Dr. Spring in therapy, and they're having a disagreement about what they think should be the next steps, and the camera got closer and closer and closer. And I looked at Mary and I said, "Is it going to be this close all the time?" And she was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Okay." And then I never asked again, and I guess it's that power of sort of disassociating and also being hyper aware of the technical aspect of your performance. But I too, as a
I did, yeah. The food at the beginning of the film, the chocolate, the pizza, and the cheese.
Yes, I did. The pizza was very complicated when we had to flip it over. There was a lot of strings, it was sewn into the box, the cheese had to detach and attach. So all of those things are really practical. Mary didn't use any special effects. But yeah, I had to eat a lot of pizza. I did.
Yes.
I know Mary's not here to talk about it, but what do you think the impact of not showing your child's face throughout the entire film? Can you speak on personally what you think the impact that was in the film?
So Mary's not here to talk about it, but can you talk a little bit about what the impact was of not showing the child's face the entire film?
It was, when we started, Mary was like, this is my concept, this is my idea. And for me, she was always there. You know, we auditioned a lot of actresses for the role of the daughter, and Delaney Quinn, who's this wonderful actress, plays her. So she was my scene partner for me, but obviously visually you don't see her in the storytelling, and I think it's because Linda doesn't see her until the end. I think she can't see her. It's really sad. And then at the end you see her, and it's this heartbreaking moment because she can finally look at and see what, she's just a little girl, you know. So for me, that's how I interpret it, but I think for everybody, it's probably, it could be different.
Yes, right there.
The movie is very beautifully written, and I wanted to know what your initial thoughts were when you first read the script, and how did it evolve as you were shooting?
What were your first thoughts when you first read the script, and how did it evolve when you were shooting, because it's very beautifully written?
I thought it was like fire, the script. She just lit the page writing it. It's just so radical and dangerous and funny, and there was a beautiful symmetry to the script that I think it remains in the film. And I love the way it goes in and out of existential moments, and it offers more questions than answers. And I think the film, I've done a lot of jobs where you're improvising and you are changing things up, and and this was not the case. We were very much sticking to in the best possible way. Like, I didn't want to change a thing. I was like, I don't want to change anything about it, not a single syllable. So, and like I say, we had this wonderful rehearsal process, which was such a gift. You don't get that usually in TV and film, especially something independent like this. And I think without that, I would have felt pretty untethered. So I felt I was very lucky.
Apart from yelling at Conan O'Brien, you also had a very good rapport with him, and he and A$AP Rocky are not known for their film acting, although now I think A$AP Rocky is. This was his first of 2 great performances. But how did you work with them, and did they come to you for kind of advice on how to navigate these roles?
They were so sweet. I mean, they were both so respectful. Rocky's such a Renaissance man. You know, he does so many things, and he's so innately creative and inspiring, and he was just so respectful, like, to me, to the point where I was like, it's okay. He was so sweet and had ideas, wanted to try things, and that character of James is really hard because you're not sure what his motivation is, and he's the most genuine person in the film. He's like the only person who actually listens to people and is curious and is empathic. And Conan, you know, like, he's not a great therapist. It's not good therapy. Guys, anyone who's in a relationship like that with your therapist, it's not good. So we had a lot of discussions about their relationship, because it's toward the end of the patient-client doctor relationship in that between Conan and Linda, Conan's character and Linda. And that was trying to figure out what had happened before then to reach this horrible kind of bitter, terrible, where they're both behaving so badly, and also the humor in that as well. And Conan was so game, you know. And you realise, you know, his show and how extraordinary he was on the show, but that's also a performance, you know. And this is another side of him, and he brings such goodwill to him already, Conan. And I think it's great because it asks the audience, and it sort of is a bit of a bait and switch, which I kind of, you know, Mary was so creative with her casting.
Was Linda a good therapist?
What do you think?